Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kelsey if you're new here, and this is going to be the 5-star prediction challenge. So this challenge started with 3 of my friends, Leandra the TBR0, Rainy Blue Reads, and Brittany Loves Reading, and I realized that we've never really rated a book 5 stars for us all, and we wondered, can we find a book that hits 5 stars for us all? So far, we haven't had much luck. The first book was Ace of Spades on Leandra's channel, and that did not work. Then we did Blood Over Brighthaven, also did not work. And then we did The Traveling Cat Chronicles on Brittany's channel, and that also did not succeed. So this round I've chosen Anxious People because we've all read a Frederick Bachman, and most of us gave a Frederick Bachman a 5-star, or so we thought.
But upon reflection, we realized that that was not true.
She thought she gave Ove a 5.
I have a confession to make. So we all were very excited about Anxious People, Frederick Bachman, maybe the one author we've all given 5 stars in the past. And then I had a recent revelation. I would have bet money that I gave A Man Called Ove 5 stars. I truly would have put my life on the line to say, yes, I adored that book so much. And I was perusing review sites. I was looking it up on Goodreads, and I realized past Leandra gave it 3 stars.
With knowing that, I did pick this book because I was like, okay, it's one that we've all read from before, and we've all enjoyed a book from this author. I thought this was a pick that would definitely knock it out of the park.
This one is a great choice. Kelsey, I'm saying it now. I'm saying it early. I think this is a great choice.
But now, after we've done multiple rounds and knowing and thinking more about the reading taste, I'm a little worried for this.
I actually don't know anything about Anxious People. I know nothing about this book. I've just realized right now.
To start with a quick synopsis of what this book is about, it's about a bank robber who ends up leaving the scene and then running into an apartment complex, and it turns out there's an open house happening in there. So he basically holds these 8 people in the open house, including the realtor and then people viewing the house, hostage. And there's a lot of secrets that are uncovered, and just what I'm gathering is like deep emotional talks throughout the time that they spent there. And they realize that the bank robber actually has a lot going on, and there's more than it seems. So to start with predictions, I do believe I will give this book a 5-star. I've given multiple Frederick Bachmans a 5-star. I've given Beartown a 5-star. I've given A Man Called Ove a 5-star. I really like his writing style, and I'm into literary fiction. So this book is definitely something that I would give a 5-star to.
Let's be honest. Kelsey is going to love Frederick Bachman. That's why she picked it. She reads lit fic. She loves Frederick Bachman. Frederick Bachman, auto by author for her as well. If she doesn't love this, I will fall on the floor.
I think Kelsey will also give this a 5. She is a huge lit fic girly. She lives for shit like this. This is her bread and butter. She's going to eat it up.
Oh, Kelsey. She's had a rough go of it. She's had a really hard time with a few of these books, but she's also not had a hard time. I feel like she's 50-50 at the moment when I'm thinking about the books we've picked up or tried, interestingly enough. I feel really confident that this is going to be a book for her. I think that she has enjoyed Bachman in the past. She's the one out of all of us who I think does lean contemporary general fiction. Will she be moved to the point of tears? Probably not.
I also think that Brittany will give it a 5-star based on her past reading from Frederick Bachman. However, it has been a while and her reading style has changed. But she's given the whole Beartown series a 5-star, A Man Called Ove 5-star. Like, I do think that she's the next one that I'm not really that worried about. I do think she'll also give it a 5-star.
Now, for me, Frederick Bachman is an auto by author, an absolute auto by author. Frederick Bachman has destroyed me many times in the past. As a character-focused reader and a person who loves good character work, Frederick Bachman just shovels it at me, just gives it to me in spades. However, I have not read a Frederick Bachman in quite some time, and my reading taste has changed a lot since the last time I read a Frederick Bachman book. I'm still a character-focused reader, but I am really solely a fantasy reader and a romance reader. And unfortunately, Frederick Bachman is neither of those. It is more lit fic, and I really don't read lit fic anymore. So I'm concerned that I have been calling Frederick Bachman an auto by author and a favorite author, and maybe that doesn't line up with my current reading taste.
I feel like Brittany will give this a 5. She just loves Frederick Bachman. I just know that she still appreciates books like this. Brittany will be giving it a 5.
We've pretty much been picking Brittany books up to a certain point. Even Traveling Cat Chronicles was very much a Brittany book on paper. And now with Anxious People, she's never met a Frederick Bachman she hasn't liked to my memory. So I have no worries about her.
Next up is Rainey, and I'm a little worried about her because she's been in her DNF era and she's not really super into literary fiction, but she has given A Man Called Ove a 5. I know she read this and we read it together and she really liked it. So it could go either way with her, and I do think she'd like Beartown. So with Anxious People, I could see her DNFing or I could see her not. I don't know.
Rainey has given Frederick Bachman 5 stars in the past. With A Man Called Uwe, at least, because I know I buddy read it with her. Me, Kelsey, and Rainey buddy read A Man Called Uwe, and we all gave it 5 stars. I mean, how could you not?
I gave it 3 stars.
Well, Leandra, no shade, but like, how could you not? But I don't think that Rainey is the same reader she was when she read Frederick Bachman's A Man Called Uwe. And I do not think this is quite the same caliber as A Man Called Uwe. I think that one is just one of his high pinnacle books. This one is still very highly acclaimed, but not nearly as highly acclaimed as that one. And Rainey really is now a fantasy romance reader.
I have had experience with Frederick Bachman before. I read A Man Called Ove with Brittany and Kelsey, I'm pretty sure, and Neva like a couple years ago, and I think we all gave it 5 stars. I've also read this one that's like called like, and on the way home, every day the way home gets longer and longer and longer or something. It's like a short novella about this grandson or this kid and his grandfather, and they're having a talk together, and like I think the grandfather has Alzheimer's, and so it's very sad. I've 5-starred both of those. I think I could really like this. I don't foresee myself giving it 5 stars, if we're being honest, because I'm just not in that place anymore where this is the sort of book that would grip me. I could see myself giving this a 4. I could, but I don't think I'm going to give it a 5. I know that's bad to say off the jump, but I don't know. I'm going to go in hopeful, but I feel like this could get a 4.
With Rainey, I could not see her liking Frederick Bachman. I'm kind of shocked that she has confirmed that she does enjoy this author, that she's looking forward to reading more from him and his canon, because I don't think that this is a book for her on paper. I don't think that he's an author for her on paper. So it is one of those outliers. I think it's an outlier. I don't think that this is a book or an author really for Rainey, but because she has liked him in the past, now I feel very confused. I don't really know what to predict for her, but I don't see her giving it 5 stars. If someone is going to fail, I think she's going to be one of them. I think that she's going to find it boring. I don't think that she's going to be entertained. I think she's going to find it a slog. And she, now being in her kind of DNF era, she might want a DNF. I don't know.
And last but not least is Leandra, and she read A Man Called Ove, and she believes she gave it, I think, a 5-star at least, a 4. She rated it really highly, she thought. But then when we chatted more about it, she looked back and she actually gave this a 3 at that time. So originally I wasn't that worried about her, but now I'm a little bit worried that she will also not like Anxious People.
Now, Leandra is the only one that has never given Frederick Bachman a 5-star. She, I believe, gave A Man Called Uwe 3 stars. Leandra, I mean, I'm giving you a side eye, honestly. Side eye. But that does mean that Leandra is the one I'm the most concerned about. So, like, in order of how I think people will like this, I think Kelsey will like it the most. I think then me, Rainey, then Leandra.
I think Leandra will either 3-star this or DNF. There's not going to be any middle road. It's either it's a 3-star or it's a DNF for Leandra. Why do I think that? I don't know. Maybe the fact because she thought she gave Ove a 5 and she gave it a 3, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, I don't know if there's hope for us as far as Leandra is concerned in this collab, and I love her to pieces. But I don't know. I feel like it's hard. It's hard.
I'm really, really nervous. I could have sworn that Past Leandra loved that book so much. And what I'm more nervous about is that I've changed as a reader now, however many years later. So I just didn't know if I would feel the same way as Past Leandra. And now I'm like, will I feel the same? We're going to have to see. And I'm sorry. I totally set us up for failure. If someone's going to fail, it probably will be me.
I am now 31% in. We are about 100 pages deep into this bitch.
We are officially 30% of the way through Anxious People, and a lot has happened.
So I have officially made it to the 30% mark of Anxious People, and I have some thoughts.
I have made it 100 pages into Anxious People, 103 pages to be precise, the end of chapter 27.
So far, we have learned that there was a bank robber who failed to rob a bank because said said bank was cashless, and one thing led to another, and they found themselves hiding in an apartment that was being toured by prospective buyers, and this bank robber decided to take everybody hostage. And then once the police got involved and they were trying to negotiate with this bank robber come hostage taker, they end up discovering that this person has disappeared without a trace. The hostages were let go. They were then, taken to safety. And then when they came into the apartment, they heard one single shot. There was blood on the living room floor, quite a bit, to suggest that a person was severely wounded, but no signs of the perpetrator that they are searching for.
And the police are interviewing all the hostages because they cannot find the bank robber. Where did he go? He must be somewhere in the apartment. He must be somewhere in the complex. He didn't have time to go far.
So they're trying to piece together what actually happened. So it switches back and forth between kind of past situations with the people held hostage and the bank robber. And then it also goes into some police interviews where the police officers are trying to piece together what exactly happened.
Our police officers are interviewing every single hostage, trying to find out what happened that day, trying to get a good description of the perpetrator, and also figure out how did the perpetrator get away.
The police officers are father and son, and we're seeing the complexities of that relationship. And we have like the real estate agent being interviewed, one of the people looking at the houses being interviewed. And we're learning even a little bit about our bank robber, even though we don't really know who it is. But we're interviewing people from the bank, and we're seeing little things that are kind of showing why this person maybe made the choices they made, even if they were bad choices.
So we found out, a little bit more backstory of how the hostage situation happened, a little bit about why the bank robber did what he did. We didn't get the full picture, but we started getting pieces and beginning parts of what happened to lead him to that decision.
So there's just a lot going on, but it truly is character first. And that means it should really work for me. It should be a book that I'm actually loving, that I can't wait to pick up every single time. And in fact, I did cry. Well, I didn't cry, but I teared up. I did tear up. There was a moment where we have the backstory from the bank robber. They truly have the worst luck in the world, and they're having a really hard time, not only financially, but in their own interpersonal life. They've divorced from their significant other, and now there seems to be a battle for custody, and this person has no job, has nowhere to live, and so they obviously feel like they are pushed to do something extreme. When you realize that the kids know the amount of pressure is on this parent, they can see the toll that it's taking on their parent, and unfortunately that weight is being transferred onto them inadvertently. And yet at the moment, this is not feeling like a 5-star read for me. The first 15%, like the first 18 chapters, I was like, okay, this could be a solid 4. Like, I'm really intrigued by the premise. I love that it almost acts as a mystery because we're trying to figure out where these people all piece together for these events to take place. But now in this next 15% that we read today, I just don't find myself really that intrigued. And while it's well written, I can respect the author's craft. I'm just not interested. With, my other fellow readers, with Rainey, Kelsey, and Brittany, I actually think in that order, ascending is the enjoyment. So I cannot see Rainey having a good time with this.
I'm not hating it. I think that's good. Now, do I feel 5-star energy? No. Do I feel 4-star? Potentially, okay? So I will say this, the writing, the way he writes books, I really much like it. That's not a sentence. I very much like it. I like it a lot. The way that he tells a story is like the type of writing that is really easy, really quick to read, enjoyable. I fly through the pages when I'm sitting there reading, and I do feel like I could read more if I wanted to. I would just keep going. So that is good. The only reason I don't think it's a 5 is because there's certain characters I just don't care about. Like Mrs. Zara in here, she's whack doodle. She is whack a freaking doodle, okay? And so there was a lot of covering pages of her in the last bit, and I didn't really care for that. So it's like I care for certain scenes, I don't care for other scenes, which is why this is not screaming 5 stars to me. But I'm having a good time. I don't think I will be DNFing this, which is good. But yeah, only time will tell whether it'll continue on okay or whether I will lose interest. But I'm not DNFing, okay? I want you to remember that. I'm not DNFing.
I wasn't sure if me now, the reader I am now, would love Frederick Bachman. And as soon as I read the dedication, I realized I had nothing to worry about. Honestly, immediately, I was like, yes, I love Frederick Bachman. I still love Frederick Bachman. The writing of Frederick Bachman just gets me excited every time. I really just love the writing style and the way Frederick Bachman does character work. That always will pull me in, and I'm loving this book already, even though it's hitting some very heavy topics. Don't get me wrong, this is a very, very heavy book. But there are moments where Frederick Bachman will put in like a little joke or a little sarcastic sentence, just a little something to liven up what is a very, very heavy book. Obviously, with the title, you would assume we're talking about a lot of mental health, and we are. We're talking about anxiety. We're talking about depression. We're talking about suicide in this book, self-harm. So please go into this knowing that there's a lot of heaviness in this book. I do think it's done really well, and I think Frederick Bachman writes mental health very well. I know the author has been really open about his own struggles. Right now, I'm adoring this book. It's heavy. I really love the little moments of humor, sarcasm to liven the heavy topics. As I have said, the writing style is just my favorite.
The writing style, I'm not sure I'm loving it in this book. I really loved Beartown and A Man Called Ove, but in this book, I feel a little bit irritated with some of the characters during the police interviews, specifically London, and a little bit of Zara. I just found myself getting like a little bit irritated, but I'm trying to push through, and I find myself a little bit bored, but overall, I'm still like interested to keep reading. It's getting more into the character-driven storyline, so I think now I might get a little more hooked because I am a character-driven story person. So I think that might pull me in. He's talking about anxiety, depression, suicide, etc. And I think it's just done in a way that doesn't feel too dark. Like it kind of has not an uplifting mood, but it just doesn't feel like the switch back and forth between different scenarios and different situations past now. It just doesn't feel as dark as the topics really are in this book, like underlying. So I do think he's doing a great job with that, and I am hopeful that it'll kind of pull me in a little bit more throughout the next two sections.
We are 60% of the way through Anxious People.
Hello, I'm officially 60% of the way through Anxious People.
All right, friends, we are at the 60% update.
So I have reached page 200, 203, or 204 to get me to the end of a chapter.
And no, I have not DNF'd. You're seeing my face again, so I haven't DNF'd. I just realized that you probably were like, we didn't think you were DNFing because you were at the first update. Well, yesterday's pages had made me reconsider my life, and it was just really weird. And there were scenes that were going on that I was just confused with. Like, for example, the real estate, or one of the women that wants to buy the house or rent the house, the apartment that they're like being stuck hostage in, was like, the bank robber basically lets them all go and says like, I didn't mean to make this a hostage, you can all leave. And she goes, well, I'm not leaving because like, then you're going to swoop in and steal the apartment from us. Like, I know that's what you're doing. And I'm like, a bank robber says that you can leave the hostage scene and you think the bank robber is really there to rent the apartment and steal it from you. In what world? In what world? That really kind of took me for a loop. And I know some people are going to be okay with the madness and the weird, like, too much over the topness. It's not necessarily for me. And then the next scene, they're ordering like pizza all together. They're like shouting to the cops to order pizza. They're like, yeah, in all the like normal robber stick-up movies, they get to order pizza for free. And I'm just like, what? And then there was this one scene in particular from today that kind of, it was whatever, okay? They were talking, I think it was a couple talking to someone else, and they were talking about how she's just been struggling because her partner has very different political views on her, like especially when it comes to immigration. And they say this one scene in particular, and she was just like, this is really hard for me. And the other girl's like, it's okay to like, you know, be a different from your partner. Like, it's actually kind of endearing. And I was like, no, I don't think so. I don't think it's endearing to not be on the right side of what should happen with immigration in America. I'm sorry. Being a Hispanic woman myself, I don't agree with that statement. This book is okay. Like, It's fine. It's a little eccentric. It's a little out there. It's not like my favorite thing I've ever read. I do think that like it has some interesting discussions, and like I obviously get that it's like all centered towards like the relationships of all the people and like all the things, and like I get it. It's like supposed to be heartwarming. It's just not hitting for me. But it's not bad enough that like I would DNF it, because honestly like it's insanely easy to read. Like I enjoy the time that I'm reading, like if that makes sense. Like it's not a chore or a slog. It just isn't gonna be like an all favorite. And I think it really is just cutting down to like, I just don't read this sort of stuff anymore. Like this is just past Rainy probably would have really enjoyed this. Current Rainy thinks it's just all right.
I can't really talk about too much of what's happening because it's major spoilers. However, I do feel like the author is trying to push us in a certain direction, but I don't think that's all that's happening. I think that the person of interest is not who we think it is. That's all I'm going to say without giving major spoilers. In terms of how I'm enjoying it, I did check in at 30 and said I was kind of bored and not really hooked. I am enjoying it more. I'm feeling a little more hooked to it. With that being said, I don't feel emotionally invested in any of these characters. I don't feel an emotional connection. It's feeling different than his other books a little bit in that way, or I'm just getting a different vibe from it where I'm not like super invested in the characters, unfortunately. I find some of them a bit irritating, and I'm not feeling that emotional connection. I don't know why, because there's other stories that I have read about mental health and I really feel connected, and you know, this is just not one, unfortunately. I just don't feel like super engaged with it.
And this book is definitely really different from the Fredrik Backmans that I have read in the past. And I can definitely see why people kind of talk about this one as somewhat separate from his other novels, because it is really different in a lot of ways. Because it does lean into his sarcasm, his humor, a lot more than like something like Beartown would, which was heavy the whole way throughout. I don't think this humor would work for everybody, but it's working for me. I'm enjoying it. I do really like the life lessons spattered throughout. That's very common in a Fredrik Backman book, and you're getting it here. You're getting these little instances where maybe characters that would not normally find themselves in communion with each other are together having conversations they wouldn't necessarily have, and getting little tidbits, little life lessons amongst that. And that's what you're getting in this book. I am enjoying this book. I don't know if I'm necessarily liking it as much as I did in the first half. I am liking the humor, but I do think it's very leaning a bit too much in the humor for my liking. I like a heavier book when I'm reading Fredrik Backman. So it is a little bit different. I'm still really enjoying it though, and it could be a 5-star depending on how it kind of rounds out in the end.
No one has DNF'd yet, so that is an improvement from last time. With that said, I am still not enamored. I'm still not that intrigued by the narrative. I have to remind myself, I have to push myself to pick up the book. So it's very much feeling like a 3-star range rating at the moment. The moments that I think Bachman is more known for, where it's like the tearjerker moments that are just like making you moved by these characters and you're rooting for them and you feel that they're very relatable. It all feels very Hallmark and just a little bit over dramatized. I'm not invested in any of these characters. In this book, we have multiple couples. The one I'm going to talk about specifically is Roger and Annalena. They are older, they're retired. They're just trying to make their lives busy. Like, I feel like they are having a hard time transitioning from the workforce and also into older age, and they get into a fight. So they're in their separate corners. Annalena is being consoled by one of the younger characters, Julia, who's pregnant, and they're just conversing about how it feels to be in a couple, especially when you are kind of in opposition with them, when you're arguing with them. Annalena provides this anecdote about a memory that she had in a car park with her husband when a man drives up asking for their car space, saying, "Hey, are you leaving the mall? Because I've been driving around forever. I just need a car space." The man is only described as having a dark beard, so I'm assuming that that's this older generation's version of he's an immigrant. Like they're just assuming that he's an immigrant, apparently, that he's a foreigner. And in the way that she structures the story, the first thing she wants to make clear is that she and her husband have opposing political views, that they vote for separate political parties, and that's supposed to be significant to us. So we're like, okay, let's draw assumptions from that. So when this bearded man asks for their car space, she then says, and my husband decided to sit in the car park in our car space for 20 minutes to make a point. And so, you know, Bachman wants us to jump to the conclusion that he's a horrible person, that he hates immigrants, that he's on that side of history, when, ooh, the aha moment comes, and in reality, what he was doing was sitting in the car space so that the man had time to drive around again. And as soon as he saw him, that's when he left, so that this man and his children do get their car space and don't have to drive around. And there was this whole side note about how Roger ended up seeing this politician from the political party that he voted for saying that immigrants are the problem, and he wanted to kind of stick it to him and prove that he isn't like that politician. And it was just this really like roundabout way of telling the story where you could tell Bachman was kind of trying to trick his reader and be like, haha, don't judge a book by its cover, or don't judge a book by who they vote for. And I'm like, that could work in other countries, especially in Europe. But in the United States, when we have such a polarized government system, when we have a two-party system, I mean, we have other parties, but let's be honest, predominantly the two parties that you always hear about that are always in power one term after another is either the Democrats or the Republicans. And so I just don't think that the scene would be really well received, depending on the type of American reader that is taking this in.
Hello friends, I am officially done Anxious People.
So I have officially finished Anxious People.
You're seeing my face again, which could mean one of two things. One, I DNF'd this bad boy. Or two, I finished this bad boy.
All right, to all of those who thought I was going to DNF Anxious People, well.
And I'm gonna give this a 4-star. It was close to a 5 for me at the very beginning and at the very end. I do think the middle, where we leaned more into the humor of this, did bring it down just a little bit for me to a 4-star, but overall, I really did like this book. Is it my favorite Frederick Bachman? No. At the end of the day, this book is about anxious people, which makes sense because that is the title of this book, so that tracks. And it really shows what it's like to be an adult in a lot of ways, maybe in a bit of a extremist look at it, but it's what it's like to be an adult and the different fears that we have as adults. So there's a lot of things I liked about this book. I kind of liked the found family aspect that this group of people ended up having, even though obviously, again, they found themselves in this really horrible situation, but they kind of make a little found family around themselves.
Drum roll, please. I finished this book. I did. And I'm debating on whether I'm giving it a 2.5 or a 3. I think I'm going to go 3 because there were parts of this book I liked. There were parts of this book that sucked. And by sucked, I mean I was bored out of my ever-loving skull. There are still parts of this that I still don't understand why that was an important chapter, why we were spending so much time on XYZ character. Could not tell you for the love of Pete. It was pushing way too many agendas. It was not realistic, which, like, I get books don't have to be realistic. Like, I obviously suspend my disbelief sometimes, but, like, I don't know. I like knowing that, like, it's gonna go, like I don't know. I don't know what I was expecting from this book. But the end was just kind of lackluster, and yeah, I didn't care. I didn't care, if we're being honest. So I landed on a 3. It was a very mid book. I will probably never think about this book ever again. And this is definitely the worst Frederick Bachman that I've read. Although it makes me wonder, would I still even like Frederick Bachman? Because Kelsey seems to think that I'll really like Beartown, and Brittany seems to think I really won't like Beartown. So I just don't know. The court is yet to be determined on that one. But yeah, I will say that I feel like there are certain things this book did well, in the sense that, like, Frederick Bachman really does know how to write characters, okay? He does. He knows how to make you, like, fall in love with these characters, and there were some characters that I really loved. Like Estelle, she a real one. Estelle is such a cutie patootie in this, okay? And then you have characters like Zara, can't stand her, want to throw her in the middle of the road. And it just doesn't matter that all of that was going on, and that there were characters that I loved and characters that I didn't. The overall arching story It's just a no.
Honestly, this was a bit of a snooze fest for me, which I hate saying because I loved Frederick Bachman's other books, specifically Beartown and A Man Called Ove. This one just felt like it had a certain lesson that it was trying to prove to us and teach us, and you know, it just felt too focused on that, and it felt like nothing was really a shock. Not that it has to be with literary fiction, but nothing really was reeling me in, keeping me invested. It just felt like it was following this timeline and it was very predictable. So that was a bit unfortunate. And I do feel like the mental health rep, I don't know, I don't necessarily know that I personally found it relatable or that I felt like it was super realistic. I'm sure some people can definitely relate to it, and I do feel like it's relatable to some people. I just feel like the way it was gone about just didn't feel authentic. It just felt like these aren't actually real people, whereas I've read some literary fiction, you feel like they're a real person and you're like struggling with them and you can really relate to them. I didn't feel this way about these characters, unfortunately, which that was what I was kind of the most looking forward to, is the mental health rep in this book, and I just felt like I personally didn't love it. So what did I rate this book? I am landing on a 3. It was just middle of the road. It wasn't horrible. It wasn't amazing. It was just meh, which is unfortunate because I was expecting to give this a 5, to be honest. I thought I was the one. I was locked in at a 5. I definitely would love it. And that is quite shocking, actually.
I did end up DNFing. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I don't know who I'm apologizing to, myself, I guess my fellow friends, even though they were not bothered by my decision to DNF at all, actually. And it wasn't that much longer after our past update. I think I ended up reading one more day of our pages, so I got to chapter 56. I just realized I did not care. I was starting to get frustrated. I didn't like the repetitive language. I found that the author just wasn't up to snuff as far as the types of emotional reactions he was trying to push out of us, and it ended up making it seem like a novel that I just became less and less impressed with. So oh well, you know, it is what it is. Are we surprised? Yet another book where obviously not all of us gave it 5 stars, but I guess the silver lining is we can all do this again, so that's good.
Better luck next time.
So as you can see, this wasn't a 5-star for any of us, which means we're doing it again, and we have a new round where we're bringing in YouTubers who get to pick our next book. The next person is Danny Dabbles, and we're really looking forward to this round, so please stay tuned on Leandra's channel. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!